What's happening, guys? This is James Blanc with MMOHut.com, and I'm here with the Senior Art Director for PlanetSide 2, Tramell Isaac, and we're here at SOE Live 2013, and we're taking a look at the new continent in PlanetSide 2. Tell us a little bit about Hossin.
Well, Hossin is our swamp map. Basically, what we did, we wanted to make sure that every time we come out with a map, we make sure it's completely different than the ones that we currently have. And I think Hossin basically, exemplifies that in many, many ways. It's a lot more compact, a lot more condensed, a lot more claustrophobic. You got tall trees, you got really thick fog, and you got the bog going on. So it's a really different look for PlanetSide 2.
It's kind of it seems from the trailer, it looks a little bit more focused around infantry and ground units. It looks like it's a little difficult to get the planes and some of those trees and whatnot.
Yeah, flying vehicles are going to have a little bit hard time on this map. Tanks and infantry are going to have a good time. We've got a couple bases with base shields on them, so the flight vehicles are going to have a difficult time around some of the bases and some of the outposts. But there are also areas for them to fight as well. But we wanted to make something that was a little bit more intimate for infantry battles. And this map also has a new building on it called the Interlink Facility, which is pretty big, and it's very it's not really cavern. It's more like a maze-like, but it allows for more interior fighting. This is something that the players have been asking for a long time. So now the Interlink Facility facilitates that.
Oh, that's really neat. It seems like a lot of the environment is also functional. Like, it looks like you could probably possibly get up in the trees as infiltrators and just pick off guys walking by.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages of having a lot of trees and having a lot of cover. We also got a lot of hollow logs, lots of large rocks that you can hide behind. So it provides a lot of infantry, different tactics that infantry can employ that are different from the other maps that we currently have. Sneak attacks, things like that, probably going to happen more often on Hossin than not. Line of sight is a lot harder to get people in, dial them in because of the thickness of the fog. So you're going to have things that the environment's going to play, tricks on you a little bit on Hossin. So it's going to be a different feel. So I hope people enjoy it. It's on a test server right now. It is not complete, so you want to make sure that people get in there and test it. Right now what we have is maybe 1/3 of Hossin is more toward the middle, and we have other things that are outside the boundary that we're currently working on. But that's the reason why it's on a test server. We need to get that feedback so we can make changes and make adjustments before we push it live. So if anybody's out there playing it, make sure you give us a feedback so we can make this the best map that we can come out with yet.
Yeah, you guys are really good about community feedback, some of the best. So that's another question I had about the battle islands, for example. How does that system work? For those that are not as familiar with the PlanetSide 2 scene, battle islands kind of tie in each of the continents together, and they're set up specifically for smaller versions of fights.
Yeah, like our regular maps are 8K by 8K. Battle Islands, the one that we showed this weekend was the Nexus, which is one of 3 Battle Islands that we're going to be putting out. This one is more of a mountainous version of Esamir. It's got a lot of caverns, a lot of tunnels, a lot of things like that. It's completely different topography. It's a lot smaller. It's a 2x2 by 2K by 2K map, and it's made for faction versus faction. So 2 warp gates, and only two factions can fight on it at a time, and they're used to bridge the gap between the different continents that we currently have. So when it's all said and done, we're going to have the three continents that we currently have, and then the 3 battle islands in between that you're going to be able to use that conquest play style to kind of push people off other maps, and you can go in between using the battle islands. Battle islands is also going to be used for our MLG effort. So people want to get into competitive play, they're going to be able to play on those battle islands as well.
Yeah, that was actually my next question, is how is it currently set up with the esports? I know you have tournaments here at SOE Live right now. How is it set up now opposed to how you plan on having it set up at the Battle Islands?
Well, the tournament that we had at SOE Live is more just a community event for the guys who were coming out just to have bragging rights, something that we really wouldn't want to call it a MLG match or a competitive match. It's more about just getting there and playing with a bunch of guys and having fun. But MLG is going to be a completely different beast. There'll be rules and regulations and time times and things like that. And then we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on this year, because we're going to be probably having our first competition later this year. And then, that'll be, in conjunction with us and MLG working together, trying to make this more of a competitive game, bring in something completely different to what MLG actually has to offer right now as far as first-person shooters. So you'll be looking out for that information as we go on later on this year.
Awesome. So briefly, I want to talk about the Player Studio. So you just introduced that into the game, and from what you were talking about in the panel and whatnot, that it seems to be working pretty smooth. What are maybe the possibilities in the future of not just letting players design their gear and things for vehicles and whatnot? Would it be at all possible for players to submit like a new weapon?
It is. It's possible. I mean, a lot of things that work right now. This is our first offering. We've got 5 things that people can submit and put within hopes to get it onto the marketplace, which is helmets. We got cockpit decals. We got decals, camo patterns, and hood ornaments. So this is just our first foray into it. Other games have been doing it for quite a while now, but what we're doing now is kind of what we call baby steps, and just want to work out the kinks. It's not the perfect process, but we want to work along with that. Just basically our typical model is just like make sure that the players get in there first and start working in the kinks, working out the kinks, and then make sure that's a nice smooth process. And then once that's all settled, then we'll start bringing in other more difficult things like armor attachments, vehicle attachments, things like that. And then we can probably talk about doing things that are more that have required design data, like weapons, and even then we'll probably do it so that it's just more of a cosmetic variant of something that currently exists, so that the designers don't end up with this backlog of work that they have to do and then trying to find a way to try to fit it within the game.
Makes sense.
So instead somebody will make Beamer 2.0, and then we'll just replace it with the current Beamer. You'll have a different looking Beamer, and that'll be their contribution to the game. And anybody who doesn't know what Player Studio is players get to make certain objects. If we approve them, we put them on the marketplace. They get 40% of the proceeds, and everybody's happy.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine it's a whole nother level of difficulty when you start adding items that have attributes to them, like weapons and things like that.
Yeah.
That's even because it's got to be balanced.
Yeah, the balancing portion of that is what we want to avoid. We want to make sure that people actually get a chance to get their things in a timely fashion.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to ask there. I really appreciate the interview.
Thanks for coming
Hossin
out.
looks awesome.
Thank you, sir.
I'm excited for what comes next.
All right.
Sony.